Good morning. I'm Greg Bowler, your 2021 NAIOP Georgia VP of Education. I'm a partner with Transwestern Development Logistics Group. Thank you for joining us for our first virtual school challenge, which has been a challenge in itself. We were thrilled to have all 4 universities this year. Moving on to the schools, so Emory University, Georgia State University, Georgia Tech, and University of Georgia. For the 4th time, our illustrious chapter has won the National NAIOP Chapter Merit Award because of our annual school challenge event. One of the major benefits of this event to the students and attendees is the resumes of these exceptional students being shared with company attendees. If anyone is interested in the resume book, please let us know. Going on to the sponsors. We'd like to thank our sponsors today. These sponsors help us bring you great programs like the one we are presenting today. At the premier level is Kojima Building and Design Group, Randall Paulson Architects, Trammell Crow Company. Thank you very much for your support. If you're interested in being a NAIOP Georgia sponsor, please call Debbie Koenig or Brandon Houston. Also, a huge thank you to Resource Branding and Heidi Davey for putting together this year's resume book. Resource works with us each year to bring you this book containing all of the participating students' resumes. It is a great benefit to the students, but even more so for members like you. We have great stories of school team members being hired, working in the Atlanta commercial real estate industry, and being an involved member of NAIOP. The resume book will be made available after the event. We would also like to give a special thank you to CoStar for providing access to important market data for the students on their projects. We appreciate your support each year. Now on to announcements. Save the date for our annual golf tournament, which will be held September 13th this year at the Capital City Club in Brookhaven. Also stay tuned for our May monthly meeting. All right, let's dive into it. And so, continuing the thanks, is obviously it's a lot of people working together to make this happen each year. And so, wanted to start out with just thanks to the committee, the judges and the coaches and the faculty and the industry resources. One of the huge benefits to the students is being able to connect with industry leaders. Thank you to all the industry resources you see listed here. We appreciate you taking the phone calls, answering questions, and any guidance you gave our students while they were working on their proposals. As far as on the committee specifically, we have NAIOP Georgia President Shep Dinos, myself, Blake Underwood, David Haddow, Jay Robbins, Debbie Koenig, John Grimsley, John Hamilton, and Cole Rethoff, as well as Stacy Stout. Big thank you to our judges this year who were able to step in for the first time for this all virtual school challenge: Ryan Hoyt, Steve Cross, and Nick Murphy. As far as the coaches, we have with Emory University, Andrew and Kelly; with Georgia State, Chris and Douglas; with Georgia Tech, Brian, Will Lombard and Will Weston; and then for University of Georgia, Alex Hill and Ryan Rethoff. As well as our faculty for each school. and the industry resources that we shared before. We thank you all, appreciate the time. All right. You cannot have a great school challenge without someone with a great write-up on the case study. Fortunately, we have David Haddow, who has done almost all of the school challenges, 28 out of 29 of them. Thank you, David, for joining us. I'll pass it on to you to share the case study.
My pleasure. Thank you, Greg. Rather than read the case statement to you, I thought I'd paraphrase it and hit some of the key points. I think the opening sentence sort of tells you where we're going. Our protagonist this year is Harry Plimpton, who's an office developer trying to figure out his next move. He recognizes that the opportunities for office development may be limited in the near term, so he's looking to branch out. He's read a lot about the industrial market, followed the activities of other developers in town into that arena, and thought maybe he should take a look. But he's got a lot of questions, and because he's a novice at industrial development, he wants to make sure he looks at those in a comprehensive way before he plunges in. If you look at the fourth paragraph there, I'll just run through that real quickly. These are the questions specifically that we've asked the students to address in the role of advisor to Harry Plimpton. What submarket offers the best opportunities? What type of product to build? Who's the target market? Should he pursue multiple sites in different submarkets or a single opportunity? What do the development economics look like? How available is equity and debt capital? Should he take a portfolio builder's approach or that of a merchant builder? Is there a danger of overbuilding in Atlanta? What is Atlanta's near-term economic outlook? And what's a reasonable expectation for rental and absorption rates as well as return on investment? As it says in the closing paragraph, Harry Plimpton is what I would call a bootstrap developer, or maybe a pickup truck developer. He's got 150 grand in capital to cover pursuit costs, but he's going to have to go out and raise debt and equity for any development. And obviously that's part of what the students have been asked to address. He needs the help of these very bright graduate students to do 5 things that are articulated in the last paragraph. Number 1, pick a site and estimate what it would cost. So we're actually looking for a very specific recommendation. Number 2, formulate a development plan and budget. 3, estimate achievable rent and lease up velocity. 4, provide advice on specific product features and potential tenants. And lastly, recommend the optimal capital stack, ownership philosophy, and scale of investment. So nothing magical. The case this year is very straightforward, unlike maybe in the past where it's been a little more complicated or complex. This is a straight up industrial development case at a very dynamic time in Atlanta's industrial market. And I think we all look forward to hearing what the students have come up with. Congratulations to the students who have participated in this. I know you've gained a lot from the experience. Thank you.
Yep. There you go. Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate it. All right, now moving on to some important facts. All 4 universities submitted written presentations, which accounted for 60% of their score. They had 8 weeks to work on this portion of their presentation. They then submitted their oral presentations, which each team recorded. Their oral presentations accounted for the remaining 40% of their score. Once the judges finished their reviews, all scores were tabulated. You, the audience, will see the top 2 teams' presentations. We are pleased to announce the top 2 teams, which are Georgia Tech University and University of Georgia. Congratulations. Now that you know who the finalists are, it's time to see their oral presentations, which were recorded in advance. After each presentation, Judge Ryan Hoyt and I will be posing questions from the judges. Let's begin with our first oral presentation from Georgia Tech University.
Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. We are North Avenue Advisory, and today we'll be pitching our advisement to Mr. Plimpton's development question. Our team is comprised of 3 MBAs, myself, Jackson Davis, and Josh O'Dowd, and we have 2 undergrads, Noah Newell and Hugh Hogan. Our deliverables to Mr. Plimpton are site selection, development plan and budget, rental rates, development features and potential tenants, and our capital stack. That outline, I'll send it to Jackson to discuss the market.
Thanks, Blake. Despite a year filled with uncertainty around COVID, Atlanta finds itself once again among the nation's strongest performing industrial markets. Back-to-back quarters of absorption totaling over 8 million square feet led to just over 22 million square feet of space absorbed in Atlanta in 2020. That ranks second in the country. Major companies like Facebook and Amazon are expanding their presence in this rapidly growing market. Facebook just announced that it plans to expand its Newton County data center, which is now going to be a $3.4 billion project. For the submarket analysis, we focused on 4 major categories. We first looked at existing inventory for potential value add opportunities. Next, we observed 12-month absorption and 12-month sales for active leasing and selling markets. And we also looked at best-in-class rental rates. The top 5 submarkets for each category are listed below the topic. So our team ended up selecting the Airport North Clayton submarket. We wanted to focus on infill product, given the current market that we're in and kind of Plimpton's available capital. This location is off I-75 South and has excellent connectivity to the airport and down south towards the Port of Savannah. In 2020, this submarket ranked second for growth in infill product and jumped an impressive 49% in lease rate activity. Nearly 35% of Clayton County's labor force is employed by logistics and distribution companies, and it also is one of the fastest growing counties in Georgia. And with that, I'll pass it to Josh.
Thanks, Jackson. So for our recommended product type, we advise that Mr. Plimpton pursue a distribution and logistics product. This opens the door to pursue value add opportunities. Additionally, this specific product type sees lower construction costs and lower operation costs. It appeals to a broad tenant base and wider buyer pool and offers flexible building use. This also allows Mr. Plimpton, who has a lack of experience in industrial development, to begin to grow his experience in this area and pursue opportunities that align with his experience. Data centers and cold storage and last mile facilities, while appealing, can tend to be more expensive and could prove difficult to build up for someone like Mr. Plimpton with his lack of experience. With that, we'll transition to our recommended development strategy. We recommend that Mr. Plimpton pursue the merchant developer role. Our rationale for this current project allows him to develop experience in industrial development, and should there be any potential market changes, offers a clear exit strategy. It also aligns with the end of pandemic timeline while office development continues to remain low in demand. The future options for Mr. Plimpton are to continue to increase his overall portfolio with both office development and industrial development, and he can continue to pursue larger and larger projects in the future. With that, I'll turn it over to Noah to talk about our selected property.
Thank you, Josh. On the screen, there is 2 aerial views of our selected property located in Jonesboro, Georgia at 7414 and 7468 Jonesboro Road. In the close-up aerial image, the northern parcel is 7414 and the southern parcel is 7468. When looking to analyze acquisition costs for these 2 parcels, we largely turn to 3 major considerations. First, we began by looking into the properties themselves, as it is an adaptive reuse, which can be difficult to find a like-for-like comparable. By doing this, we researched into the parcel's previous sales prices and the market growth in the Airport North Clayton district. For the northern parcel, we took the previous sales price of just over $1 million in January 2019 and utilized a multiplier calculated by taking the 18.64% growth in the submarket since it was last sold. For the southern parcel, the site was just sold in March 2021 for $3.85 million, which we thought to offer an additional $150,000 to the new owner to release this property to us. Ultimately, this created a total acquisition cost of just over $5.23 million. Now, getting into the redevelopment potential for these parcels, we have provided 3 aerial images with the current property on the left, Phase 1 opportunity in the middle, and the Phase 2 potential on the right. In order to get to our Phase 1 design, we have 4 main proposals. For the southern parcel, we are looking to renovate and optimize the existing building layout by removing unfunctional additions and squaring off the building. Also, by relocating all loading docks to the north side of the building, with car parking on the east side of the building, the parking and loading is optimized for this site. For the northern parcel, we are suggesting grading the site from multiple paved tiers to a uniform level, which will optimize the storage with no limitations based off the site itself or its connection with the southern parcel. Overall, we believe this adaptive reuse is better than new construction due to aspects including environmental sustainability, its unique location, and the reduced risk with no new construction. While adaptive reuse does have its own risk, we believe a reconfiguration project works well with Mr. Plimpton's office developer skill set. While seeing immediate potential for these sites, our team also acknowledged the long-term value available. The potential for future additions, including a newly constructed building of roughly 120,000 square feet and a rail spur run off the Norfolk Southern rail line, with Norfolk Southern's corporate headquarters moving to Atlanta and the increasing cargo rail activity coming from the Port of Savannah, gives the potential to further optimize the site as the central loading court would serve both buildings. This provides a level of unparalleled flexibility for Mr. Plimpton. Now, before getting into the details for economics in our building design, our team toured the site and created this video to help orient you to our proposed location.
Welcome back. Now I'm going to talk to you about the capital stack for Mr. Plimpton's development. As we know, Mr. Plimpton only has $150,000 in startup capital. Because this amount is so low, he won't be able to go directly to a limited partner, and he'll have to have a co-GP, a co-general partner. With this, the total GP equity will be $750,000, and that GP equity split will be 80-20. This brings us to our equity. Our total equity will be $7.5 million and will follow an industry standard 90-10 equity split. Our loan to cost will be 55%, with total debt raised being $9.15 million and equity raised at $7.5 million. This brings our total capital raised to $16.65 million. Our waterfall structure will follow an IRR hurdle format. The first hurdle will be a 10% IRR, with the split being 30-70, with the co-GP promote being 5.5% and the Mr. Plimpton's promote being 16.67%. The second hurdle will be 15%, and the last hurdle will be 20% and anything thereafter. This would leave Mr. Plimpton with a 33.33% promote. Our project budget is a total of $14.975 million. As you notice, this is a lot lower than our total capital raise. And the main reason for this is because this is Mr. Plimpton's first industrial development. We feel it's necessary that he has plenty of contingency for anything that may arise during the construction process. And now back to Noah for the income assumptions.
Thanks, Blake. In order to gather information to determine the rates for our income assumptions, we utilize data from CoStar, JLL, and CBRE. We found the market rent to be roughly $520 per square foot for our comparables, so we utilize a $550 rent per square foot premium as our building offers a newly renovated space and incredible accessibility. We kept with the market rate vacancy standard of 5%. For the trailer storage, the current rate per trailer spot is $175 to $225 per spot per month. So we utilized a conservative $185 rate with a higher vacancy of 20% due to it being typical monthly rentals. With these rates, our site creates an annual NOI of roughly $1.15 million. Now, Hugh will detail the specific design features.
Thanks, Noah. I'll be going through the specific features of our development on the northern and southern parcels of our proposed land. As we mentioned, our northern parcel will include a rentable tractor-trailer parking lot. Improvements we want to make to this land include grading and paving the lot to optimize the parking, which we believe will give us roughly 20 to 30 more parking spaces. Our southern parcel includes a 159,000 square foot building, which we derived by removing the rundown warehousing additions on the property. Currently, the building has 11 rental units varying from 8,000 to 6,000 square feet spread randomly throughout the building. We want to bring the building back to its original roots with a uniform 20-foot clear height and opening up this space to 2 to 3 uniform units averaging nearly 50,000 square foot each. Likewise, the current building has 7 drive-in doors and 13 truck-high dock doors, which are also spread randomly along various quadrants of the building. We want to incorporate 6 drive-in doors represented through the black triangles on the graphic and 24 truck-high dock doors represented through the clear triangles on the graphic. Likewise, we want to designate the northern side of the building to a truck docking station. This will leave us with a 4 to 5 acre paved truck court acting as a truck loading area that connects with the northern parcel of tractor-trailer parking. We would also like to add a 150 car parking lot on the east side of the building. The current building does not have any parking for employees, which is a large issue regarding traffic flow because the truck port is the only available place to park at the moment. Adding a designated car parking lot will improve efficiency and allow for the property to take more tenants and employees. On to potential tenants. Currently, our building has one tenant occupying 15,000 square feet. This leaves roughly 145,000 square foot open for new tenants. The graphic on the left shows the current tenants with industrial logistics properties located specifically in Jonesboro, while the graphic on the right shows a broader overview of well-known companies that have established a presence in the Hartsfield, Atlanta I-75 South area. As the market grows, we believe many of these firms already located in this area may outgrow their buildings and may want to expand their needs to acquire more square feet in the same relative area to their operations. With our great location and proximity to the airport and I-75 South, we believe there is a high potential to find companies similar to many of these on the screen, or find other firms that are currently looking to establish a presence in Atlanta. Now I'll hand it off to Josh to talk about the project timeline.
Thanks, Hugh. Given the increasing demand for industrial development within the Atlanta area, we recommend that Mr. Plimpton pursue this opportunity as soon as possible. We anticipate that budgeting, finance, and due diligence and ultimate site acquisition should take roughly 3 to 6 months. Following this acquisition, redevelopment can be pursued in full, with final approval and lease-up following thereafter. Ultimately, we expect that the sale of this property following the phase 1 of our recommended outline should happen within 2 years. Should Mr. Plimpton choose to pursue the phase 2 as well, the timeline would be adjusted accordingly. With that, we recommend that Mr. Plimpton pursue this as soon as possible. We've walked you through our site selection and estimated acquisition costs, our development plan, rent and lease-up analysis, our product features and potential tenants, and capital stack and economics. Our recommendation is that Mr. Plimpton pursue this extremely flexible, adaptive reuse in Jonesboro, Georgia, offering several opportunities with both phase 1 and phase 2. At this time, we're happy to take questions, and we thank you for your observation.
All righty. Awesome job, Georgia Tech. Did everybody enjoy that one? It's a good presentation, good PowerPoint. I enjoyed the flyover. That was awesome. Let's see here. Do we have everyone on from Georgia Tech now?
Yes, we're all on.
Awesome. And now I would like to welcome Ryan Hoyt to join me for questions.
And I can do
Thank you.
a quick introduction. 4 out of our 5 team members are here. My name is Blake Brady. We have Jackson Davis, Hugh Hogan, and Noah Newell on the call today.
Great.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, I'll pass it on to you to get it kicked off.
Thanks, Greg. And thank you, Georgia Tech, for participating in this year's school challenge. I've seen countless amounts of these in my close to 20-year career, and they keep getting better. There are also a lot of people, including our president, who used to be in the same seat that you are today, and a lot of wonderful people in our community that took place in this. So thank you. My question for you all is, 20 foot clear heights are considered functionally obsolete. And in your proposed developed building, that's where one of it was pegged. And I just want to ask if you all were confident that the product type being proposed will be able to command that rich 550 triple net rental rate that you have proposed.
Yeah, based on the sub-market comps around there, we feel strongly that we can still obtain that rate, even with the 20-foot clear. Based on what's in the area and based on the proximity to the airport, we do believe that we can achieve those rental rates.
Got it. We could have a spirited discussion about that, but we would typically think that would be more in line with the value add properties that you've listed in your appendix. But we're all on the industrial side, banking on a lot of significant rent growth in the upcoming years. So yeah, thank you, Greg.
Yeah, don't forget about cap rate compression. That helps a good bit. But all right. Well, my question is around the site plan a little bit more, and so was curious around the phase 2 building layout. It has a kind of a funky shape to it, kind of like a trapezoid, and from a functionality aspect, it'd be tough, certainly for a distribution tenant to actually use it. Did the team consider kind of using that phase 2 for future trailer parking spaces?
Yes, so that was kind of our original plan, would be to use that top parcel for those tractor trailer storage for those units. And then we did put that kind of trapezoidal shape on there for phase 2, which obviously, if necessary, and that was kind of better optimized, we could go for a square building. That kind of pad allows that flexibility, but we are currently going to use it for phase 1 as tractor trailer storage, and that'll supplement that income from the first building.
All right. And hopefully we can do a little bit better on the vacancy rate for the trailer parking.
Yes, definitely.
I think we're pretty high up there. But all right, well, sounds good. Well, we appreciate the time, and you guys did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, and now it's time for our second presentation with University of Georgia.
We are the University of Georgia Terry College of Business 2021 NAIOP Georgia School Challenge team. I'm Reed Smith. We've got Kayla Snipes Vickers, Matt Whitley, JT Carroll, Brad Greason, and Patrick Guthrie on the line. So excited to be presenting to you guys today. So here's just a little breakdown of our agenda. We're going to go over an executive summary followed by a market overview, product and investment analysis, and a market risk assessment, and then a few acknowledgments at the end. So just to start off, this is really a fantastic time to be pursuing an industrial real estate development. Industrial real estate has been one of the most resilient real estate sectors amid the COVID-19 crisis. As a paradigm shift and consumer preferences shifts towards e-commerce, and attitudes towards remote work are expected to persist long past 2021. Investors are going to be flocking to industrial real estate developments going forward. And Atlanta is a particularly great market to be pursuing an industrial real estate development in. So I'm going to kick it over to JT to go a little bit more into what our specific plan is.
Thanks, Reed. So this slide will serve as really the 5 W's on the proposed development that we have. So we're calling the site the Flowery Branch Industrial Park, strategically located off I-985 in Flowery Branch, Georgia. For those not familiar with the Atlanta area, that's northeast of Atlanta, close to Gainesville, Georgia. Proposed use is a 36-acre master plan park with a bifurcated facility that will have one portion of 450,000 square feet and the other portion 150,000 square feet. Projected cost for the project are about $45.5 million. Our source of funds will be 65% debt, 35% equity. We estimate returns in excess of $10 million in profit, 6.7% yield on cost, unlevered IRR of 15.5%, and a levered IRR of 26.1%. Next slide. And I will turn it over to Kayla for the U.S. industrial overview.
Thanks, JT. COVID-19 has transformed the U.S. industrial landscape, leading to an explosion in e-commerce as the country adheres to social distancing and work from home practices. In the competitive space of e-commerce, proximity to air, rail, and ground have all become extremely imperative in consumer satisfaction and corporation profitability. Quarterly e-commerce sales totaled $209.5 billion in the fourth quarter of 2020, 36.7% higher than 1 year prior, while rental rates for industrial leasing increased by 26.9%. And I'll turn it over to Matt.
As mentioned earlier, Atlanta is one of the top real estate industrial markets in the nation. As you can see here, it's within the top 5 for annual net absorption and under construction. Another highlight of the Atlanta industrial market is its location within 3 major U.S. interstates, I-20 going east and west, I-85 going up the East Coast to I-95, and I-75 going up the middle to the Midwest. Atlanta is also very close to the Savannah port, which we'll move and discuss that it is the number 4 biggest port in the country and the number 2 on the East Coast and the fastest growing port in the nation. We can't talk about Atlanta without talking about Georgia football's dominance over Georgia Tech, Georgia State, which won't play Georgia, and Emory, which doesn't have a football team. I'll let JT discuss the Atlanta submarkets.
In determining which submarkets we wanted to target for our development, we consulted with a number of industry professionals. We also used some real estate data analysis platforms to help us. We really looked at 4 crucial factors in identifying the Duluth, Sewanee, Buford, and I-985 submarkets specifically. So both submarkets have great proximity to transportation infrastructure. They're well positioned for easy access to I-85 and I-985, which gives them ample facilitation routes into growing East Coast markets. Both submarkets also stand to benefit from the addition of the Northeast Georgia Inland Port, which is slated to come online in 2021. Recent trends in the area are good. Projected rent growth 4 to 6% over the next year, with vacancy rates around 3%. I-985 rent growth is projected to accelerate well past historical averages of about 2.7%. And then there's also 2.7 million square feet under construction as of early 2021. Both submarkets with a great tenant base currently. Amazon developed 2 large-scale facilities in 2020 within the I-985 submarket. Current tenant base also includes large-scale manufacturers such as Kubota and large-scale U.S. retailers such as Best Buy. We've also seen a recent uptick in major real estate industrial investment firms in the area, specifically Patillo and Prologis, developing properties within both submarkets. Population characteristics are very positive overall. Gwinnett and Hall counties have experienced growth between 13 and 16% since 2010. U.S. Census Bureau identified the Gainesville-Hall County MSA as one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the United States. Overall, great labor supply in the area, ready, capable, and able to fulfill large-scale labor requirements as needed for new properties. Now I'll turn it over to Reed for our product and investment analysis.
Thanks, JT. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our product quickly. Like JT mentioned at the top, we are envisioning a 36-acre master plan park with 600,000 square foot available for lease, bifurcated for 2-tenant use. And that's primarily because we saw users in the market, a more diverse group of users in the market under 500,000 square feet. So that's what we were targeting there. Talking to industry professionals, we were really going for industry standards on our product specifications. 40-foot clear height, 56-foot column spacing with 70-foot speed bay, 185-foot deep standard concrete truck courts, 70 to 80 dock doors, and sufficient auto parking and trailer storage. Evaluating some of our rent comps and our potential tenants, like JT mentioned, there's a great tenant base in the area, and we expect to target e-commerce, third-party logistics, or manufacturing firms as potential tenants. Some of the firms that are leasing comparable space in the area include Amazon, Office Depot, Alfrex, Kubota, Thermacell, Lazy Boy, and others. And so evaluating our rent comps, we really focused on tenants who have signed leases in buildings in the area that were delivered in the past 2 years. I particularly want to point out over 1 million square foot leased, Amazon in 2 buildings, one at $395 per square foot and one at $450 per square foot. I'm going to kick it over to Brad now to talk a little bit more about our investment analysis.
Thanks, Reed. So we, in summary, have a conservatively underwritten yet still very attractive investment. Overall, it'll cost about $42.5 million to construct, and it will return $10.2 million in profit. We've underwritten a conservative 5.5% exit cap, which gives us a 128 BIP spread for a yield on cost. Unlevered, that generates 15.5% IRR and a 26.1% levered IRR. To finance our $42.5 million, we'll engage in a 65% loan-to-cost construction loan that will generate $27.7 million. Interest will be paid current at an interest rate of 3.5%, and that will fund after our 35% equity contribution. As cash-strapped developers, we propose a 99-1 equity agreement, and we'll be pursuing a pari passu agreement within that. Next slide, please. So what are we going to use our money for? So to begin, we got to buy the land. And based on our land comps, we estimate about $75,000 an acre for our land, and that totals just over $2.7 million. We've included buyer side closing costs and a finder fee for us as well. Hard costs, we estimate about $10 a foot in site work, totaling just under $30 million. We will begin that in month 3, allowing for architecture, engineering, and permitting to be completed before we start moving dirt. We estimate that site work will take about 3 months. Right after our site work, we will begin our vertical construction, and that will cost about $37.50 a foot, totaling about $22.5 million. We estimate that will take about 12 months to complete. Additionally, we have penciled a 5% hard cost contingency for an additional $1.4 million. Moving to soft costs, before we do anything, we need to get reimbursed for some upfront due diligence costs. We've estimated conservatively $150,000. That would include any preliminary architecture, engineering, site plan, testing. So all of the costs that we as developers have fronted before land closing, getting reimbursed on that. We've additionally penciled $50,000 for some legal expenses to set up our joint venture. Conservatively, we've estimated about $600,000 for architecture and engineering, $450,000 for testing and permitting, and that moves into some of the later in the period soft costs. So after we have begun construction, about in the middle of our construction cycle, we'll engage in a third-party marketing firm to help us lease the property. So that would include photos, videos, website, you name it. We'll hire someone out to do that in a professional manner. We also have to pay a leasing commission. We've estimated about 5% of the total lease cost, totaling $1.5 million. We've generously given $7 of tenant improvements to our tenants. We will begin constructing those tenant improvements 3 months before the end of construction, allowing for them to move in right away. We also have to pay the Flowery Branch property tax, as well as the county property tax. We estimate that at 1.1% of our property value paid annually. And we also have a 4% developer fee on non-management costs, and that will be paid monthly starting in month 1. Additionally, we will also have to pay interest, 3.5% paid current, loan fees at 0.5%, and we've estimated about $80,000 to cover operating shortfalls during lease-up. Our leases, we'll have 2 leases, 450,000 square foot for pad number 1 and 150,000 square feet on pad 2. And based on our rent comps, we conservatively estimate that we can get $5 and $5.25 respectively. We've estimated 2% annual rent increases and given a couple months free rent on each of those. So all of that rent pulls in about $3.1 million in triple net rent. We've conservatively underwritten an additional 1.5% management fee to cover miscellaneous expenses. There's some upside in the extent that these don't actually occur. And for CapEx, we have penciled 10 cents a foot for capital improvements. That's about $60,000, and a large allocation for future leasing reserves at about $425 per year. Overall, that nets us $2.8 million in NOI, resulting in just shy of a 7% yield on cost, about 128 bips spread on our conservative 5.5 exit cap. For our exit cap, the market right now is at about 5.25. We could potentially see some cap rate increases in the near future, so we've penciled a 5.5 exit cap to be conservative. In the extent that this is a little bit lower, that's upside for us. All in, this nets us $10.2 million in levered profit, representing a 1.69 equity multiple and a 26% IRR. In terms of our joint venture, we will be pursuing a 99-1 as we are cash strapped. And to account for some of the risk that our GP partner takes, we will increase our initial preferred return to 10%. And we'll have various promotes and hurdles along the way, ending in a 40% promote after a 15 return. Overall, the LP still gets paid very handsomely, netting over a 20% IRR and over 1.5 equity multiple. The GP returns are obviously substantially more than that, as we are only putting in 1% of the money. Net, the developer will put in about $150,000 and walk away with just under $4 million after fees and profit taking. And with that, I will pass it. Oh, one more thing. We have some downside protection as well. Our deal is very well suited in an extent that the market turns on us. It can absorb up to a 7% exit cap and sell in month 60 before it starts to lose its profit margins. Additionally, it will pencil if we have to hold it for an extended period of time. So it will still pencil at a 10% levered IRR if we have to hold it for 10 years and sell at a 7% cap. And with that, I will pass it over to Patrick to talk about risks and mitigants.
So throughout the project, we evaluated various transactional and more generalized market risks. One of the primary risks we looked at was kind of a simmering of the industrial real estate market in the short term, primarily fueled by market saturation. So to try and mitigate this particular risk, we focused on addressing tenant needs, especially in the submarket that we chose to conduct this project in. We also looked at interest rate risks. Current rates are at all-time lows. There's no guarantee that'll continue. To mitigate this, we primarily included generous buffers in all of our projections to account for any unforeseen interest rate hikes. Construction costs. A lot of people are building in the Atlanta area. Both labor and material costs are up 10% over the past 5 years. As a mitigant for this potential risk, we created the best circumstances for long-term tenancy to ensure return on investment, and also included some buffers in our projections. And we just looked at a general 3D printing market disruption. 3D printing is going to reduce the need for large inventories, reduce the need for a lot of space for specialized equipment, which is going to lessen demand for industrial space. Fortunately, this technology is still not where it needs to be for industry-wide disruption, and is likely to occur outside of our investment horizon. Turn it back over to Reed for some acknowledgments.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Appreciate that. Well, that's the end of our presentation. We hope you enjoyed this, and we would just like to say go Dogs and go out to the wonderful glory to old Georgia.
And Hoyt, did you enjoy that?
You know, being a UGA grad, it didn't hurt my ears like it probably hurt the their competition.
Woo, man, the competition is hot, man. It is hot. But great job, UGA. We definitely enjoyed that, and very robust financial and market analysis. So, you know, kudos to you guys really digging in on that aspect. Do we have all of UGA on the line?
Yeah,
and,
Greg,
you guys could introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I can introduce us quickly. My name is Reed Smith. We've also got Kayla Snipes Vickers, JT Carroll, Brad Greason, and Patrick Guthrie on the line today to answer a couple questions.
All righty. Ryan, you want to kick it off again?
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all again for putting the case study together. You know, I was, as Greg kind of alluded to, I'm a Terry grad as well, just many years ago. You know, this is also a submarket that I've done a tremendous amount of work in. I was actually at Prologis before joining JLL. So, you know, the question that I'm going to ask is, you know, 38% Florida area ratio FAR seems really aggressive for Atlanta. Typically, we're around, you know, anywhere high 20s, low 30s. You know, if this, and there's also kind of a stream that one of the other judges pointed out running through the northwest corner of the property. So really, you know, if the site could, let's say, only achieve a 30% FAR, does it still pencil?
Brad, you want to take that, or do you want me to take it? I think I can answer partially.
I'll let you go ahead then if you got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when evaluating the site, we had to move a little bit further up I-985 because of all of the saturation sort of closer to Buford. And when we were looking at sites that we felt were going to be big enough to build on, and zoned industrial as well, we thought that this site would work well. Definitely did not go as much into the engineering or the architecture in terms of specifics, but we were pretty confident that we could make something work in terms of that site. Brad, do you have anything?
I can build on that a little bit. So I think that's a function of your footprint to the land cost, right? So essentially, you're not able to distribute as much of the land cost across more square footage, and so essentially that just pushes up your land price per foot, but you would still get the reduction in physical building space, so you just wouldn't have to incur as much physical capital to build your building. And so I think the question really stems into, can we support a higher land valuation per foot, per acre, however you want to look at it? I think the answer is yes. We haven't looked at it extensively, but I would imagine that we could probably support 100,000 and still have 100,000 an acre and still have a reasonable functioning deal. But definitely something to look into.
Yeah, and you can always go back to the landowner when you're under contract.
Right. Go retrade.
Renegotiate. Right. Yeah, I know all about that. Thank you. Good answer, Greg.
All right, thanks, Ryan. And it's easier to go back to the landowner when you have a site plan to be able to reference. You can actually kind of point out functionality and saying, hey, I can't lease up this building. So this is kind of where the price needs to be. And so. But yeah, and so, kind of going down to the market analysis aspect of it, we didn't see kind of much of as far as like competitive properties and that aspect from a development pipeline, or how much supply would you guys actually be competing with once you deliver? Was that considered? How comfortable do you guys feel with your rent aspect, depending upon how much supply is actually out there?
Yeah, I can take that. Greg, thanks for the question. First off, honored to be here and talk to y'all. Yeah, so when we looked at it, it's kind of a tough question for that, because everywhere around Atlanta is doing pretty well right now. So it's a hot market across the board. And so we looked at key characteristics that, we thought would make a difference. The metrics look good for that area going forward based off our industrial analysis. We see the major real estate investment firms beginning to work in there more and more. Talking to the industry professionals, they're confident in that area. We were confident with the addition of the inland port coming up there that's going to give a main line down to Savannah. We thought those were key characteristics that would help us. Now, more specific to the property site and the structure development, it's got a really diverse tenant base. It's not too heavy in warehousing. It's not too heavy in manufacturing. It's a good diverse group across the board. So we thought we could build a property in that area that would be, attractive to a number of different tenants and give us a little bit of flexibility on that end and not necessarily be tied into a specific type of development.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
I think, Greg, I think both analysis of this, like most developers, they have pretty aggressive, as you know, exit rates. I thought, I think there's going to be a lot of cap rate compression that both of these would, or more so than they would realize.
Yeah, I think your returns can definitely juice a good bit, but it all depends on how much you can fit on that land. So, all right, nope, appreciate it. Thank you for the time. You guys did a great job. Really enjoyed that. Ready for football season.
And dogs.
All righty, thank you, Ryan. All right, so thank you to both teams. Excellent work, and we all appreciate you representing your schools so well today. Before we announce our winner, I'd like to once again thank our sponsors, Kojima Building and Design Group, Randall Paulson Architects, and Tremel Crow Company. I would like to invite all students back to the screen to announce the winner. All right, we have all of Georgia Tech on. We have all of UGA on. Awesome. All right. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. The winning school who will receive $3,000 and the infamous silver shovel is, drum roll please. I'll do my own. Georgia Tech University. Thank you, UGA. You guys did a great job. Appreciate you participating. This was a great year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Georgia Tech.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to say thank you to our professor, Barry Branch. He's been great this entire semester. Thank you to our sponsors, Brian Howell, Will Lombard, and Will Weston. They spent a lot of time walking us through this process and kind of listening to our ideas and giving us some really great feedback. Thank you to Debbie and Heidi for their help throughout the entire semester, and thank you to all the NAIOP judges. This has been a really great opportunity and learning experience, and we're really excited that we got to have the opportunity to compete and represent Georgia Tech. So thank you to everyone, and thank you to UGA. Really great presentation.